going to be a show for a while.
We're live.
All right, we are live. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees business meeting, October 12th, 2020. It's 7:30 p.m. The entire board is present. Call the meeting to order. And let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
The flag of the United States of America.
And
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're in business. Let's see. Not a real big agenda tonight. We'll begin with additions and deletions to tonight's agenda. We have a couple recommended. Mr. Bletcher, you want to bring up the first one?
The first one that I would like to add would be the compensation for commission members as an addition.
Well,
Support.
okay. This is a surprise, but we can add, since that's
We can wait, Brian, we can wait till next meeting. That would be fine.
I think that would give us a chance to look at it a little bit, but I don't think I'm ready for it, so I wouldn't be in a big hurry to approve. If you want to withdraw that.
I thought you were kidding, Carl.
I was, Jim. I move to add a recommendation of the Township Board to begin the process to hire a police clerk dispatcher. You'll notice on the agenda, we do have
Support.
a dispatcher that's leaving.
Okay, I've got that by Trustee Bletcher, and I think Trustee Budney seconded. Well, we know this is coming. Any discussion among the board? Those in favor of adding, that will be action item number, turn out to be action item number 6. Those in favor of adding that as an action item, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered? That'll be added. And have another one. I think this comes under the easement, Jim Budney. Does this come under a DPS function?
And yeah, this is I would like to delete consent agenda number 3, the easement approval for DTE.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Trustee Bletcher because we have no information on it, delete consent agenda item number 3. On the board, those in favor of deleting that consent agenda item, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None offered. That will be deleted from tonight's agenda. Other additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay, none offered. Those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. The agenda stands as amended. And with that, we'll get into the real exciting stuff, the audit of our finances. And I will turn it over to our finance director, Mrs. Darsniak. Or you can just go right to the bottom line. We finished in the black. And that's it.
Great, we're done.
Yeah,
Good.
All right. So, okay, moving on.
You're in the books. I just want to, I'm here and I'm going to present the audit. And I also have with me, she's online, Jamie Rivette from Yo and Yo. She'll be here too.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi.
Jamie.
Okay. Yep. So what I'll do is normally what I do, I'll go through some of the highlights. I'll go through the presentation, and then you can ask us and Jamie any questions, or if she wants to summarize after I'm done, she can do that as well. So if we'll proceed that way. Is that okay, Jamie?
Sounds good.
All right. So some of the audit highlights for the year is, I'm just going to read them off. So state shared revenue, our second largest source of income for the general fund, had increased by about $46,000. So that was actually pretty good. It was about 5% over last year. Coming into the new year with COVID and sales revenues are down, we're going to go through our mid-year review and we're going to project about a $64,000 decrease this year. So we're going to have to discuss that and how COVID has affected it. But during the 2020, property taxes have actually, they increased about 17 million or 2.81%. And we'll show the graphs of how that happened. So that's good that revenues are still continuing to increase as far as our taxable value. Also, during the fiscal year, building permits decreased about $100,000. Again, COVID hit at the end of last year, and this we're considering seeing this right now too. We're going to have to do a little catch up. It's starting to catch up, but it declined last year. We still had 12 new construction permits, so they're still building houses with a value over a little of them $5 million. Like again, COVID came at the end of March, so it kind of slowed things down. In February 2020, we received $317,000 from Wayne County for improvements to West River and Grosio Parkway, so that's good. We got some money through the county initiation grants. In 1920, the Recreation Department paid off 2 of their loans that were borrowed from the general fund, so that was good. So now they're debt-free. We did start some new debt with the seawall, so that's in the upcoming year, but they did pay off their previous debt that they had with the township. In October, the township purchased 1.82 acres of vacant land from open space for about $92,000. We hadn't bought any open space in the last couple of years, but this year we spent about $92,000. In December, the township issued capital improvement bonds for about $6 million for water main replacements for Park Lane Meridian and some major improvement at the wastewater treatment plant. To date, in the current year audit, we spent about 1.7 million of that money, so there's still money available to finish those projects. In 1920, the township loaned the municipal airport and Commerce Park $860,000 for 18 years, and they've spent about a million to date. As you'll see in the audit, this is generated income. The renovations are result in tenant occupancy and revitalization of the airport. So you'll see those numbers. And then in 1920, township-wide pension cost increased about 62,000, so of about 4.9%, and health cost actually decreased by about 14,000 or 1%. However, the unfunded liabilities that you'll see continue to fluctuate due to actuary calculations and assumptions and extreme changes in interest rates. So it's one day at a time, but they change, and I'll talk about that in further detail. And we will continue to look at those major areas. So those were kind of the highlights. And then I'll go to this, my PowerPoint real quick.
And I'm assuming all those were 2020
Yep.
expenditures developments.
Yep.
Not
Thanks,
1920.
Okay. All right. This is, so here's the auditor opinion. This is what we pay the auditors to do, look at everything, and then they end up giving an opinion, and Jamie can elaborate more at the end. It's the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, the aggregate discretely presented component units, each major fund, the remaining fund information of the Township of Grosio, Michigan as of March 31st, 2020, and respective changes in the financial position of cash flows were applicable, therefore, for the year and in conformity with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. So that is basically a clean opinion. There was nothing that they found that was out of the ordinary or in non-compliance. So if we look at taxable value, you can see from 18 to 19 that the taxable value continues to increase at a slow rate, but it is increasing. So this was the 17 million I talked about overall of the taxable value. So about 2.8%. The next, now I'm going too fast. The next screen is our total township millages. You can see from 18 to 19, these millages are all have to be voted on by the people. So we just can't raise taxable millages for no apparent reason. They have to be voted on. We do have one allocated millage that is allowed to us as a township. and it was originally at a 1.85 mil, has been decreased through Headley of 1.25 mils. So that is truly the only millage that we are allowed to assess without the vote of the people. So when people say, oh, you're just raising our taxes, that's impossible. We can't do that without the vote. So the millage rate actually went down from 15.41 in 18 to 14.91 in 2019. And that was a 0.5 decrease in lower in the sewer separation project, the millage that's on your tax bill in the summertime. So that went from 4.5 to 4. That number is adjusted by the amount of principal and interest payments due within the next year. So we were able to take that down half a mil, which was a big difference. So together, the taxable value times the millage rate equals the amount of taxes that we collect. So in 2000, oh, my numbers are cut off. Obviously, the last column is where we're at today, about a $9.4 million of what we collect for total taxes for the township. It's about a $223,000 increase from the previous year. So, like I said, it has started to increase, but at a slower rate than when it fell. If we go to fund balances, comparing to last year to this year, you can see the left hand is 19, and then the right hand is the current year in which we're in. So recreation actually went up. So basically the fund balance is cash in the bank. That's really our bank account at the end of the day for these types of funds. Recreation ended up with an additional $20,000. So at the end they're at 182. The farm went down a little bit. Library went down a little bit. Bike path stayed about the same. Drainage went up due to collections and not as many projects. Roads went down because we spent money in roads, did a lot of projects. And then open space, the balance went down to the purchase of open space. Public safety stayed pretty much the same. The drug law enforcement has gone down a little bit. That pays an officer. So we keep an officer payment out of those funds, but they haven't been as aggressive. Not necessarily the whole task force. We haven't, there hasn't been, collections aren't as aggressive. They come in spurts. So some will be in the bailiwick and then they don't come down for 3 years. So it's just a matter of timing. But those have gone down a little bit. Fire operating, they still have $526,000, but they, due to healthcare and due to the fire population getting older, adding on new employees and retiring out other employees, they're over the last couple of years have been eating into their fund balance between $100,000 and $150,000 just to maintain services. Like I said, as nutrition, people are retiring or they're keeping them on benefits, and now we have to hire new employees. Hopefully that makes sense, but they have been draining into their balance. Fire equipment, it just went up a little bit by the tax millage. If we go to the more proprietary or more business type funds, we look at the Department of Public Services. If you went from 19 to 20, you can see that it actually went down a little bit. Water usage is going down. People aren't using the water as much as they have been, probably because of cost, and they're not using it and watering lawns and whatever as much as they used to. So the actual water usage has gone down. The sewage went up a little bit because we raised the rates because we have some major capital improvements that need to be done at the wastewater treatment plants. So we've been looking at those rates so we can make those improvements. Refuge stayed the same. If we look at airport, you can see the Commerce Park revenue has went up 24%, and that was due to the revitalization and the renovation on the Commerce Park side. So you can see that is making a huge difference. Fuel sales stay the same. Golf last year basically was the same. Marina did a little better. Obviously this year Marina did a little worse due to the high water. So it just changes and conditions changes the financial outcome for some of these activities. If we look at the long-term debt schedule, from this year to last year, we were at 29 million last year. We're at 31.9. Some things have come off and some things so the original building authority, which is our township hall, that will eventually come to an end. See a light at the end of the tunnel in my time. So that will be coming to an end in 2025. So we are coming, that was Township Hall and Water's Edge. If we look at this one, the sewer tax system, that was the one that started out at 40 million. And that too will be coming off the books in 24, 25, and 26. So those are coming off. That is a millage, though that's on your tax bill as a millage. The capital improvement bonds are water and sewer bonds that we just added the $6 million, as I told you about, in just some water main projects and some major construction at the wastewater treatment plant. So that did go up $6 million. The judgment bond, again, was part of the sewer separation project that started out at 6.8 million. That's now down to 3.6. So we are getting rid of some. We're trying to watch what we're paying because we still need improvements. We still need bonds. We still need major capital improvements. So even though we added 6 million, it only went up a little over 2 million. So it is coming off, but we have to add, we have to continue to make capital improvements. So the amount of principal and interest due within the next year is $4.5 million. Here, I didn't want to skip that up. So here are the net pension liability. So the net pension liability went from 14.8 to 15.4. So that's about a $562,000 increase. And again, the reason for the change, we continue to make all our payments. We continue to do what they want us to do. They changed the assumptions again. So the rate of return was estimated at 7.5 in the previous year. Now the estimated rate of return is 7.35. So they continue to change assumptions that we continue to chase. So it stays about the same, and we're doing everything that they're telling us to do. So it's a constant battle. I told you the actual cost only went up 62,000, and we can definitely afford that. But when the assumptions change, these big numbers change with a stroke of a pen. So, and now if we look at the employment benefits, as far as the health care, that went up as well, and due to the interest rate assumptions, and our actual cost went down $14,000. So again, we're continuing to monitor the situation. We're continuing to do what they're telling us to do. Everything we're doing. They just fluctuate daily, and everyone at the end of your financial portfolio, when the interest rates drop, so does this stuff. And think of these in millions of dollars, and look at yours and how much it affects your own personal. So what it does with these numbers is dramatic. So we go look at, now we're going to just concentrate on the general fund. We looked at all the fund balances of the other funds. Now we're just going to look at general fund, our major discretionary fund, which contains, we're at about $5.8 million for the year. Property taxes make up 60% of it. And then the building part makes up 818, and then we got the state shared revenue, and then some interest income. So we don't have a lot of money sources for the general fund. Obviously, the most is the property taxes. You can see from, again, we did that schedule to begin with, so this is just general fund. The property taxes went up about $100,000. So we're keeping with it going up. You're going to see in the last couple of years, we are keeping with our expenditures. So things are pretty much breaking even for the last couple years. And we'll show you that in a minute. If we look at state share revenue, we went from 930 to 977 in 2020, but now, like I said, we're going to have a decline due to COVID. Just sales that we were on a roll. Everything was starting to be great, right? And now all of a sudden we see the turn. So we'll just have to pay attention and keep an eye and cut and see what we can do to stay with these different situation. If we look at expenditures, our expenditures were at 5.869. Again, the majority of our expenditures, as you see, our revenue makes up 60% for property taxes, and the police make up 60% of the expenditures. So they're basically taking the majority, obviously, of our tax revenue. If I look at just our history, so from 2016-17, so these weren't our taxes, still were not where we needed them to be. In 16 and 17, we went into fund balance for almost up to the tune of 250. In the last 3 years, because revenues have increased, we maintained our expenditures. We basically are breaking even, which means we're not overtaxing and we're not undertaxing. Everything is right where it should be, because we don't want to make a ton of money and we don't want to lose a ton of money. So actually, financially, we're right where we want to keep it. And at the end of the day, we still have a $2.4 million fund balance. So that is definitely within the guidelines. So, and then here's the general fund, a chart of what I just showed you. So that's it for my presentation. We can, if Jamie wants to talk a little bit, and then we can answer any questions.
Sure, sounds good. So just to reiterate a couple things that Ann mentioned, really she made my job super easy because typically I'm the one giving this kind of presentation. So just wanted to point out that the Department of Treasury is the one that requires, the township to have an audit done every single year, and it has to be performed by an independent CPA. And what we do is we come in and audit the information provided. So it really is management's responsibility for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial information in accordance with the rules, which are generally accepted accounting principles. And then my team and I come in and we audit that information provided. And as Ann mentioned on her first slide, you're really looking for our opinion on your financial statements. That was an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance offered, and it means there are no material modifications that need to be made to the financial statements. So excellent job there. Do they have copies of the financials?
They were online.
Okay, a PDF. Okay. Because one section I do like to point out really to board members is section 3. It's the MD&A, the Management Discussion and Analysis. I think it's a good overview of the township, how the year went, and some expectations for the upcoming year as well. I feel it's in layman's terms. It's a little bit easier to read and understand versus what we're required to report, based on GAAP. Sometimes it can get a little hairy reading through those financials and understanding what everything means. But it's just 7 pages. It's 3-1 through 3-7. It's the MD&A, so if you get a chance, I would encourage you to read through that. And then my couple of other highlights that I had that really Ann already touched on was with the net pension liability as well as the unfunded OPEB liability too, which you've already mentioned those. And then the last item I'll mention before we can take questions is just as an auditor, we are required to remain skeptical. We like to keep Ann on her toes. We don't tell her what we're going to test when we come out there. If she knew we were going to look at the credit card files, every I would be dotted, every T would be crossed. So every year we are rotating our procedures. And I just think it's important for the board to know that too. We're not just coming in and looking at the same thing over and over. Yes, we have our required checklist, but we also are looking at areas for management override of control. So we did a couple of tests this year. One of them was with adjusting journal entries where we pick certain ones. We have a data extraction software where we can import the entries in there, and it helps us pick which ones are posted near year end, posted to a seldom used account, so we can focus on ones that are unusual and infrequent. And we didn't find any discrepancies there. And our other management override tests was with some capital asset additions. We did a random sample of 10 just to make sure that you had proper support and authorization for those. And again, we didn't find any discrepancies in doing those tests either. So I just like to share that with the board when I get a chance to talk with them about some of the additional items that we do above and beyond, just a normal audit. So, any questions that we could answer for you?
So Jamie, thank you for that insight that, you keep Ann on her toes and you're honest.
I didn't know about those, I swear. I was like, what? What's she gonna say?
I really appreciate the job that Ann does. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Any questions for Jamie? Comments? Nice, Yo, as usual, a good job on the audit. Glad we came out with unmodified. Didn't you used to call it unqualified? Was that the former terminology?
Yes, you are exactly right.
I paid attention.
Good job.
Again, any questions or comments for Jamie or for Ann? I'd like to see us in the black. Obviously, we're not taxing people too much. We came out 12 grand ahead. And good luck next year. Great. Jamie, thanks.
Thank you.
I think we will close the presentation then and move on to public comment on tonight's agenda items. All right, Brian, take us away.
Yeah, if anyone have any public comment, just flip on your camera, give me a wave, let me know you want to comment.
On tonight's agenda items.
Correct, and I'm not seeing any.
Okay, then let's move on to consent agenda. Mr. Treasurer.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Looking for approval of consent agenda 20-37, which includes the Township minutes of September 28th, 2020, check register dated through October 9th, 2020, check register dated through October 9th. I'm sorry, that's a repeat. Item 3 has been eliminated, which is the easement. Item 4 is CARES grant acceptance. Item 5 is Downtown Development Authority appointment. Item 6 is the DCC DMA 2021 budget, and that's for 33rd District Court. I'm sorry, and item number 7 is a 33rd District Court application for waiver.
Support.
Okay, moved by the treasurer, seconded by trustee Budney. The consent agenda. Any questions, comments on tonight's consent agenda? As it's been amended. None offered. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye.
Any opposed? None offered. That okay. We'll move on to tonight's action items. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Brian. I would first like to make a motion to go out for RFPs for the Water's Edge lease, the Water's Edge restaurant lease.
Support.
Okay, moved by trustee Nelson, seconded by trustee Budney. Are you going to run this, or is Kim going to present this?
I'll add one thing, Brian. The lease agreement, excuse me, is set to expire on December 31st, 2020. RFPs will be required by the CRC for the year 2021. So Kim can add anything she wants at this point.
That's pretty much it. The CRC met last 2 meetings. And again, we all agreed as a commission to go out for RFP as, as Jim said, it's expiring December 31st of this year. So at the recommendation of the CRC.
Okay. Questions, comments from the board? This has been a topic of discussion for the last few weeks now. So, Mrs. O'Connor.
Thank you. Just for the record, Kim, do you expect Smokies to also be making an application for the RFP?
I would hope so. In conversations with them, they've been, very good. We would definitely like to see them put in a bid for this as we head into the new year. It's been a rough year for every business. So, yes, we are hoping and staying positive that they will submit something.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. Any other questions, comments on the RFPs? I don't see any. So with that, I mean, we all know that it's time to take a second look at this, and hopefully things will improve. All right, with that, are those in favor of, what's the actual wording on that? Those in favor of, requesting RFPs for the property located at 2555 West River Road, currently occupied by Smokies on the Water. Okay, those in favor of allowing the CRC to go out for a request for proposal, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion will carry. Let's move on to action item number 3. And once again, Mr. Nelson.
I need a motion to accept and award the pool shade structure bid to Pfeiffer's Incorporated in the amount of $27,900.
Let me interrupt. Did I miss action item number 2?
Yes, you did.
Looks like I did. All right, Jim, step back. Let's knock out action item number 2. And
Okay, so that's the smart lease?
Yes.
Okay. I need a motion to accept the municipal credit funds from Smart in the amount of $10,184.
Support.
Okay, who seconded?
Just Jim Bunny, I
Bunny.
think.
Oh, okay, Mr. Buddy, thank you. Just
little history and purpose.
record all
Township
these.
selected. Sorry. Little history and purpose. The township selected to opt out of the SMART program in 2015, and Kim can give you an update on all of that.
Basically, in 2015, I believe Ms. Boyd was here, took it to the township board, and for opting out of the SMART program, the township purchased a transit van, a small transit van, which you see me driving around the seniors all day, every day. So with the opt-out, the dollar amount that the township receives towards that, and it goes towards, it's people driving the bus, it goes towards maintenance of the bus. That $10,184 goes right into that fund, which you can see in the budget. So that's the dollar amount that we work with when it comes to senior transportation, Meals on Wheels, those types of things. So we've done this every year since 2015. So, yeah, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think we've been doing it. We never got the smart buses. We've always opted out.
Yeah.
So I don't know how often that gets, the program gets changed, that we have to start the annual opt-outs again, but it has worked out better for our community, which is why we continuously choose to opt out and provide our own transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Questions or comments for Ms. O'Hara? Clerk.
Clerk O'Connor. Well, listen, Kim, this is just for the record again, for the people watching and who will watch it on recording. We don't provide matching funds to this. This is simply something we get from SMART, and we don't have to add funds to it.
As for the, what do you mean?
SMART.
No, this is the fund. No, there's no matching at all. This is strictly from SMART. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments for Ms. O'Farrell? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of accepting municipal credit funds from SMART in the amount of $10,184, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Now, Jim, where was I? Action item number 3.
Well, first of all, this sounds like the Jim Nelson show, but it's really not. But in any event, I'd like to need a motion to accept and award the pool shade structure bid to Pfeiffer Incorporated in the amount of $27,900. $988.
Okay, so I have the motion by trustee Nelson and seconded by
Or,
Treasurer Van Oss. I know the shades at the pool structure, the shade structure's been on the wish list for a while. Take it away, Kim.
This was part of the AIG grant through Wayne County Recreation. We were awarded $60,000 to do improvements, which included, this is one of the projects. The pool heater was the second project. The sunrise drain was the third project, and the outdoor lighting at the basketball and volleyball courts was the fourth project. So this is one of the four that is presented. We did go out for bid back in March. Obviously with COVID, we weren't sure if we were going to get the dollar amount from Wayne County. So we did wait to open those bids, which we did open September 1st. And it's in the board packet of the two that presented the bids. And that's where we're at. So that's pretty much it.
Forward to it.
Yep.
Again, it's been on the wish list.
Yeah, a really great improvement to the pool area. The structures that we currently have right now, there's one that's bent. They're not real sturdy, and they don't cover a lot of ground. And shade is really important to people that are out of the pool, just for health reasons. So we were able to get this one covered.
Good. Questions, comments from the board?
Yes,
Jim.
Mr. Supervisor.
Yes.
I have a couple questions. And I guess, Kim, you put this together, so I'll ask you this question. Who exactly are we awarding the bid to?
To Pfeiffer Inc. It's on the
Pfeiffer Inc. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I asked that question is because the estimate came from PIBC LLC.
Yeah, the structure itself, those are kits, and what Pfeiffer's has to purchase the kit and has to install the kit. Somebody has to install it.
All right. So who is PIBC?
Where do you see that? I'm sorry, I'm not.
Your estimate that you gave us for the amount of money, that you're asking us to approve for Pfeiffer, the estimate came from PIBC LLC.
Jim, I don't have everything with me, so I will have to pull that up. Because there is no proposal from Pfeiffer Incorporated.
Right. So, Kim?
Yeah, I apologize. I don't have everything on my desk at home right now.
I think Ann has something.
He is Fife. That is his company. It's not personal. It's his company.
Well, are you saying, so
PP.
Pfeiffer Inc. is who we're giving the...
Right, the people.
Oh, you mean as far as the name?
Yes,
Yes, yes. Because they're two different entities.
I don't have everything in front of me, so.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm
apologize.
saying is there's two different entities in front of me. The estimate or your proposal, your bid came from PIBC LLC, yet you're saying we're awarding it to Pfeiffer Incorporated, who did not put a bid in.
Yeah, so there's a miscommunication between the words on the motion and the actual estimate provided to us.
So which one are we doing is my question.
Exactly. You understand?
I do understand.
Okay.
So if we have to hold off until I have everything in front of me, I'm okay with that, Jim.
I mean, it's important that we award it to the right entity.
No, I agree. So if there's a typo in my legislation, I can correct that and bring it to the board on the next meeting. And that's
Let me make a recommendation. If in fact, instead of saying the structure bid to Pfeiffer's Incorporated, PIBC, we can make that pen and ink change here. Is that the award is going to is PIBC?
Is that?
Yeah,
that's
owned by West Pfeiffer?
Yes.
That's correct.
then why don't we make a pen and ink change on that motion right now? And then consider it from that perspective.
That's fine.
Okay.
I guess we'll call that a friendly amendment,
Friendly amendment.
my
I support it.
parliamentarian stuff.
I support that, Brian.
Okay, so supervisor moves and trustee Buddy supports to change the term Pfeiffer Inc. to PIBC LLC.
LLC.
Okay.
Board, my apologies for that typo.
Okay, we can fix it. Those in favor of accepting that change, please signify by saying aye.
I think Jim has more questions.
Oh,
Well, yeah, but, all right, Brian, are you just on the change or?
just the change in the name of who we're contracting with. The
Got it.
contract is going to PIBC LLC that was erroneously entered as Pfeiffer Incorporated.
Okay, and I'm fine with that.
Okay, so let's, again, the motion is to make that change. Instead of Pfeiffer's Incorporated, write in PIBC's LLC will be the awardee if we approve it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, those in favor of that pen and ink change signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, with that correction, now let's continue the discussion.
Okay, couple more questions. That being the case, Kim, do you know if PIBC is licensed? Is a licensed contractor?
They, as far as I know, yes, because they have done the work at the marina. They've done work for the township. I spoke to Dale about that, and the license.
So you feel we have the documentation to show their license?
That's correct.
Okay, and how about insurance?
Pardon me?
Insurance? Did they present the proper
Yes,
insurance?
I spoke to Mr. Ram about that, and that's on file at the township as well.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
Okay, technical issues, and normally the contracts, we see them, those are the first thing. Authority has taught me the things you gotta look for is indemnification, insurance, and room for signatures. So with that, any other questions, comments? Miss Uta?
Just Uta. Kim, I noticed there's a big price difference between the two bidders. What were the other criteria that the CRC looked at? Are they offering, is Pfeiffer looking at a different type of sunshade than the Soul company?
No, I mean, and like I said, this was put out with our engineer, and it was a while back. But again, these are kits that you purchase, and again, it comes down to the install with the footers and those type of things because they're permanent. So I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is one maybe a little bit lower on, the install and so forth. So. Yeah.
If I may, yeah, if you look at that, Udi, it is on the install. That's the bulk of the money. There was some difference in the cost of the kit, which I found odd. That it is the same kit for both guys bidding, and yet there was a couple grand difference in that too. But yeah, it's in the install.
Okay.
And again, with this, I did speak to Wes about the project. We do want to try to get everything ordered in this calendar year because the prices could go up in 21. Again, this project, we hope to get everything ordered, get the kit, the colors, all that picked out, and then do the install early March, April before the pool opens for next year. So, because there could be a price increase if we wait too long and order things in 21. So.
Okay. Any other comments, questions for Ms. O'Farrell? Again, I know this has been on the wish list for a long time. It's going to make a great addition to our pool. It's last thing I need is more sun. With that, those in favor of accepting and awarding pool shade structure bid to PIBC LLC in the amount of $27,988 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None offered. That carries. Thank you, Kim. That'll
Thank you.
make a difference.
Thank you.
All right. Where are we? Mr. Treasurer, talk us into accepting the audit report.
Begin, Brian?
Well, I'd like you to introduce the audit report.
Sure,
Action item number 4.
got it. Let me get up here. Looking for recommendation to accept the audit report as presented by Ann.
Support.
Okay, moved by treasurer, seconded by trustee Budney. We saw the presentation. We had the opportunity to ask questions and get answers then. Has anybody's mind changed since we talked to Ann and to Jamie? I think it was a presentation we've seen every year. It was the numbers are fairly encouraging. We know we've got some problems probably in the aye.
Brian?
Audio went away.
Yeah,
think we
Brian,
lost him.
we're not hearing you.
Oh, just so everyone knows, the audit is available online under my department.
Shall we reach out to Brian to let him know we've lost him?
I think he probably
Brian,
knows.
I think we've lost Brian altogether.
Yeah, I think we lost him altogether, so.
Oh, there he is. Oh, he's still talking.
Hey, Brian. Brian, you're muted.
You're muted.
There we go. All right.
All right.
All right. The internet gods have back in. All right. Where were we? Accepting the vote to accept the Township of Grosse Ile financial statements via the audit report as of March 31st, 20, as presented this evening. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. We're going to blow through this before I drop off again. Action item number 5. Mr. Bletcher, please.
You're on mute.
I recommend and move that the Township Board accept the resignation of Clerk Dispatcher Monica Hughes effective October 1, 2020.
Is it Monica or Melissa?
I'm sorry, Melissa Hughes.
Support.
Okay, moved by trustee Bletcher and seconded by treasurer Van Oss. What can we say? She's moving on.
She's been with us for 3 years and 10 months. She's resigned from her position due to medical issues as set forth in the agenda item report. And she has been a very good employee. She's done an outstanding job. I believe Chief Warnick wants to add a few comments to this as well. Mark, are you there?
Good evening. Yeah, the same thing Carl said. She was with us for almost 4 years, and she was an excellent dispatcher. I'm sad to see her go. She did everything we asked of her and even more. But she's going to move on and do something else with her life. And like I said, I gave her all the, we hate to see her go, but we try to let her stay. So she didn't want to. So we're going to ask to hire a new one and take her place.
All right. So any other questions, comments? I mean, obviously, we really don't have a position on this. We can't, there's no involuntary servitude in this township. But, so I'll just bring it up. Well, are there any other comments from the board? With none, those in favor of accepting with regret the resignation of Clerk Dispatcher Melissa Hughes effective the 1st of October, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None offered. Thank you, Melissa, and best of luck to you. Let's move on to, again, this will be Mr. Bletcher, action item number 6, the addition.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The addition is to try and find somebody that can fill Melissa's shoes. As Mark indicated, she was a very good clerk dispatcher. She's going to be missed, but I am going to recommend and move that the Township Board approve to hire a police clerk dispatcher as her replacement.
Support.
Okay, moved by trustee Bletcher, seconded by trustee Budney. I think we know the background. We need another dispatcher, but go ahead and fill in any blanks if you would, Mr. Bletcher or Chief Warnick.
Under the history, purpose, and explanation, we're recommending the Township approve the hiring of a new clerk dispatcher from an eligibility list. Clerk dispatcher Hughes resigned as of October 1, 2020. We'd like the board approval to begin the interview process. The candidate would not be hired until they've completed a background check, employment physical, drug screen, and psychological testing. The individual would be hired with a 1-year probationary period and would be hired on the 2-tier retirement system. She really has been a valuable addition to the department. Currently we have 5 clerk dispatchers. There are shifts, 3 shifts a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. The clerks also are assigned not only the regular road work where they are monitoring the radios, providing lean information, but they're also responsible, some of them anyway, with respect to answering FOIAs and things of that nature. There's a lot of work that goes into that. Previously, we've looked at the possibility of trying to go with just 4 clerk dispatchers and have found that to be wholly unacceptable from a budget and overtime perspective. You need 5 to cover the shifts. You have vacations, you have illnesses, you have personal leave. And by the time we're done, it is just not financially responsible to try and go with 4 clerk dispatchers. So we need her. We need a new one. We need somebody to replace her.
Yeah, Chief Warnick, did you have a comment?
I agree with Carl, and also add a couple of things. We also are short 1 officer. We have an officer that's been on workman's comp for almost 2 years now, and that leaves 1 shift always short. The FOIA department, we have a clerk dispatcher, like Carl said, does the FOIAs, and it seems like in the last couple of years, the FOIAs they come in 3 or 4 or 5 a week. It seems like anytime somebody breathes or looks at somebody, someone wants a FOIA on it. It wasn't like that 20, 25 years ago. So that's why, like Carl says, we absolutely need this dispatcher to help out. And saying we're still short an officer, it's just the guys get tired. They work overtime, and it stresses a lot of people out. So I think this will help us out a lot. And it says financial impact. This actually will help us because the new hire will hire in at a lot lower rate than Melissa was. Melissa was going to be at full pay within 2 or 3 months. And this new dispatcher will start, I think, approximately $5,000 to $7,000 less than she would make at this time. So that would help us out too. But she has to go through a process before, or he has to go through a process before we hire. So I'm just asking for approval to hire a police clerk dispatcher.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from the board? Uta.
Yeah, so Chief and Carl, that means, do you have a specific candidate in mind from a list, or are you still needing to compile a list of eligible candidates?
We have a list right now. The list ended September 25th, I believe it was.
Okay.
So we have a list. We'll have to send out letters and get dates and everything.
Okay.
So it'll take a little bit of time, but we can get on that right away.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, none offered. Those in favor of allowing the Grosse Ile Police Department or approving the Grosse Ile Police Department to hire a 5th clerk dispatcher, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. That motion will carry. Get to work on getting us another good dispatcher. And that concludes tonight's action items. Madam Clerk, we're ready for your report.
All right, thank you very much. It's a little bit longer. It's election time, so we have a few additional updates to provide you. As of today, our office has issued 4,715 absent voter ballots. And as of today, our office has received back 2,006 absent voter ballots. Absent voter ballots need to be back in the Township Hall by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 3rd, in order to be counted. Although new legislation is making it possible for something to have an absent voter ballot to have a postage mark of November 2nd, and as long as it's mailed by that day, we should accept it and count it. Logistically speaking, we'll figure out how to do that. We have a couple of dates to make note of. October 19th is the last day to register to vote anywhere except by coming in person to a clerk's office. So if you have not yet registered to vote and you wish to do so by October 19th, you can only do it by coming to your local clerk's office. October 28th is the public accuracy test. Deputy Clerk Friel will be testing the tabulators, and he has a test deck prepared that is open to the public, and it will start in the boardroom at 10 a.m. And then Saturday, October 31st is what we fondly call Election Saturday, just to get us in training for working long, hard hours and getting up extra early. So on Saturday, October 31st, the Township Clerk's office will be open from 7 a.m. until 3 p.m. You can drop off your voted absent voter ballots to us at that time. You can come in to register to vote. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you receive an absent voter ballot on that Saturday, you will have to vote it and return it at Township Hall.
No, on Saturday you can take it with you.
On Saturday, you can still take it with you.
We can't mail any ballots on Saturday.
Okay.
You can come pick one up and take it out.
On Monday, you can still vote it, but it has to be in Township Hall.
In Township Hall.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, the governor signed Senate Bill 757 on October 6th, which allows jurisdictions with a greater number of voters to begin processing their absent voter ballots a day early. We are too small to qualify for that. And so our plan right now is to have our absent voter counting boards start processing the ballots at 8 a.m. on Election Day. Let's see here. My staff and I, Brian, Elena, and Gail, we want to thank all of the people who have come forward to serve as poll inspectors, as counting board inspectors, and working on our receiving board. We approved the list today at the Election Commission meeting that we are obligated to have before every election. We now have a full complement, and we also have a list of substitutes who will be able to step in if and when needed. If you are still interested, I know there are other communities that are looking for inspectors, and I believe you can work in any community within your county. So if we didn't pick you, maybe somebody else still needs volunteers. The deadline to file as a write-in candidate is 4 p.m. on October 23rd in 2020. And then last meeting, I neglected to announce this, and I'm actually very pleased to do so this time. Deputy Clerk Friel applied for and received a $5,000 grant from the Center for Tech and Civic Life, which is a publicly supported 501c3 nonprofit organization. The grant may be used to cover our expenses incurred to ensure safe, efficient Election Day administration, to expand voter outreach and voter education efforts, and to launch and support poll inspector recruitment, training, and safety efforts. And matching funds were not required. So kudos, thank you Deputy Clerk Friel for finding that and adding that to our budget. So now finally, and this is probably what a lot of people have been waiting for, I want to provide you with an official update on a new decision that the Grosse Ile Clerk's Office and I have made in the voter challenge that was just initiated prior to the August primary election. And I'm going to read this. It is also posted on our township platforms. It is a primary function of every township clerk's office in Michigan to support, uphold, and enforce Michigan election law and Michigan state law. When presented with a voter challenge as provided by MCL 168.512, there is a due process to be followed, and only then can a decision based on law be made. Our oath of office as elected officials compels us to follow prescribed and deliberate path based on local, state, and federal law in everything that we do. However, we have found that prescribed and deliberate path through Michigan election law can become complicated and difficult to decipher. A voter challenge in accordance with MCL 168.512 was presented to the Grosse Ile Clerk's Office on July 10, 2020, alleging that a certain candidate running for local office was not in fact a qualified elector in the jurisdiction of Grosse Ile. As I have reported before, we immediately informed our township attorney and worked with him and proceeded to act in accordance with our understanding of the law. We ultimately based our decision on our understanding of MCL 168.10 and 168.111. Based on the facts presented, we felt that we had no choice but to find that the challenged voter did not meet the required residency under these statutes. In a continued effort to assure that Grosse Ile Township voters were properly represented, we continued our efforts to seek the interpretation of the legal staff at the Michigan Bureau of Elections. After finally speaking with them, we were advised that their interpretation on MCL 168.497 was that a presented Michigan driver's license or affidavit is proof of residency, and with that move, our role was complete. Whether the license or affidavit was accurate was for criminal investigation, but not our review. This is where our path got complicated and difficult to decipher, because we knew and understood that the challenged voter did not currently live in his house in Grosse Ile Township. The Bureau of Election staff also explained to us that while there was no law on point, they would also consider that the challenged voter was not living in his home due to the fact that he is renovating it, and although his renovation is taking a long time, he, quote, intends to return, end quote. The Bureau of Election staff concluded in advising us that according to their understanding of Michigan election law, the challenged voter met the challenge and should remain an eligible elector of Grosse Ile Township. Based on this new interpretation from the Michigan Bureau of Elections, the Grosse Ile Clerk's Office has no choice but to change its decision, and our office reinstated the challenged voter as an eligible elector immediately this morning. While we sincerely apologized to the challenged voter and his family, we pursued the process and followed the statutes to the best of our understanding. This process and our decisions were never made arbitrarily or maliciously. The Bureau of Election staff agreed that the Grosse Ile Clerk's Office did its best to follow the process, and that Michigan election law was complex, and that knowing how best to enforce it properly was not always clear. With that, the Grosse Ile Township Clerk's Office considers this matter closed. Further, I want to assure Grosse Ile voters that during their upcoming training sessions, we will instruct our poll inspectors, again, that any voter challenge made at the polls on election day is effectively answered if the challenged voter signs an affidavit or presents a Michigan driver's license with a gross ill address. And that is the clerk's report for today. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Treasurer.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. The investment report for the month of August shows $16,804,313.28. It's housed in various accounts, generated a total of $2,039.56, which is an average of 0.11. It's going the other way again. The summer taxes were due September 14th and are now past due. And if we have collected 98% of all the tax rolls. We continue to collect the 2020 summer tax bills at Township Hall. As of November 1st, a 3% penalty will be added to the base amount of the tax, an additional 1% penalty per calendar month. If you have unpaid summer taxes, make payment by the 31st to avoid the additional 1%. Partial payments are also accepted, and we will reduce the penalty accrued on the balance. 2021 pet tags are now available. The fee is $6 until the end of January. And in 2021, the fee will then increase to $12 on February 1st. Be sure to provide proof of a valid rabies license and vaccination and to purchase your pet tags. The Commerce Park Commission is going to have a regular meeting on Monday here at Township Hall. It's going to be an actual meeting, and we'll provide all the protection that we can provide with masks and social distancing. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee liaison reports, and looks like Tom Alvesto, you're up first.
Mr. Supervisor, I don't have anything to report this week, but as you're aware, we'll have something next meeting.
Will do. Okay, thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Mr. Nelson.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Well, Mr. Bundy.
Wow. I thought mine was going to be the shortest. It's going to be the longest. We have a DPS meeting tomorrow. Actually, no action items, just a lot of updates on various projects, but it will be live. It will be in the boardroom, so we're looking forward to that. And sadly, for the last time, I get to say no ZBA meeting this month. I would like to say to my fellow board members on ZBA that I have enjoyed working with you, and I wish you all the best in the future, and I'll look in on you. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bundy. Mr. Blatcher.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have three reports. First is with the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission. We have received an engineering study with proposed costs for a bicycle pedestrian trail along East River between Grow Road and the Gibraltar Wildlife. That would be on the west side of the fence. And we are going to be studying that as well as other alternatives at our next BPAC meeting, see what we can do to lower the cost. The primary cost is relocation or construction of a fence that would separate the trail, again, on the west side of the current fence, so that we could have an extension from Grow Road down to the Gibraltar Wildlife Center. That is a little bit more than a half mile, and we're going to be studying the cost of that at our next meeting. The second commission I sit on is the Greenways Open Space. We have received, again, an engineering study by Sahio with projected costs for the improvement of the trails across from Meridian Elementary School. That's about a 6/10 of a mile loop. A good portion of the year, about 3 months in the late winter, early spring, the trail is just underwater, and we're looking for a way to make that more of a year-round use. as well as to complete the extension from Ferry Road to Gage on the new trail that we have there. We have similar problems at the front end of that on the Ferry Road end, where we have a lot of water. There's a lot of watershed, and we've received an engineering study and proposal what it would cost to cure that. Again, with the idea of making the trail something that's usable year round. And finally, I want to let everyone know that we are doing interviews for replacement of Jerry Mattioli as commission member for the Grosseal Police Department. Jerry was with us for a little bit over a year. He is, as I understand it, retiring and moving to Florida. Jerry was wonderful with his almost 50 years of experience in law enforcement. He was able to work through some issues that you look at, and Jerry just brought a different perspective, and that was very worthwhile. We do expect to have those interviews going on this week, and we have a Zoom meeting tomorrow night. So this is hopefully going to be our last Zoom meeting before we are able to step up to the township board and socially distance, but go live as opposed to all of the laptop and the Zoom. So that concludes my report.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Bletcher. Move on to Township Attorney's report. Mr. Assorti.
Well, as everyone kind of knows, the orders have been going just flying off the shelf this afternoon. The Supreme Court rejected the governor's request to extend her current orders for a period of time while some other things get in place. I think many of you already know that. You know, we're here. I can help however we can. We'll go over issue after issue as they arise almost on a daily basis. So I can tell everyone that, you know, Dale and the staff and working with the supervisor, we're trying to get to everything we can. I think we're doing a pretty good job at it, and hopefully we'll get some more direction from the state government here tomorrow. And we can answer a lot of questions about meetings, et cetera, from there. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Assorti. Manager's report, Mr. Ram.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to make a comment on the audit. I just want to say kudos and great work by the management team and all the employees. This was an effort, a team effort of everyone to come in under budget and finish the year based on what our budget plan was. So I just wanted to pass that thanks on. This past weekend was the first event that our DDA director, Trish Eblin, put on, and I received nothing but positive comments and positive feedback. So I wanted to throw compliments her way and all the team and assistance that was given to her as well from the other staff. And I just wanted to remind you, Mr. Supervisor, about an update of the Wayne County Bridge schedule for your report, sir.
Which we have heard very little from. Like, well, I guess, are you just handing it to me and I'll, that's my segue?
Yes, sir. There's your segue.
Okay. Okay. The Wayne County Bridge schedule is, they've defaulted back to their original projections, that it's supposed to be open December of 2020. For a while they said this winter. Well, this winter could extend all the way to March, but they've backed off. Their public affairs lady says we're back to the December of 2020 projected reopening. Now, as you're all aware, there was some distinction. That is going to get it reopened most likely to the 26-ton limit, with a lot of investigation going on the pier repairs, because the second bid came in higher than the first bid, which came in about 11 million over their Wayne County's engineering estimates. So that is currently being investigated by MDOT. I don't know where that's going to come out, but I will say the work is progressing well on the West River overpass. They're working there on Saturday, so they're making good progress. And supposedly it's all going to be open in December. And unless Derek or Dale has information I don't have, that's what we've been able to get out of Wayne County.
Oh, sir, nothing to add.
So nothing, nothing particularly detailed. it's frustrating from my perspective, but it's the county's bridge, and that's what we're doing. Other stuff. Let's see. Trish, I'm sorry, Uta, did you have
While you were on bridges, I was going to ask, because I drove by there today, do you have an update on what's going on the East River Bridge over at Meso Island?
the last estimate I heard was November. But I have no guarantee on that either. If the weather stays good, Kurt will have it done in November. If they run into problems, and good, Derek just showed up, so he can back me up. He's the one who's is allowed, if you will, to contact Wayne County, and he's allowed to have more rapport than I'm allowed to have. And that sounds weird. Derek knows and Dale know what I'm talking about. It's just the hierarchy of how things work. And Derek, what do you have for bridge updates?
Nothing much more than what you had mentioned. We're going to try to, after speaking with you and Mr. Bud, at least post on the township's website on a weekly basis any updates that we have for the residents. And it might be as simple as there is no update. It's the same status as it was the week before, but at least the residents will have information about where it stands every week. According to the information we have, and we'll be reaching out to the county to make sure that there aren't any updates, and we'll be doing that through their public affairs or individuals. So look on the website for the most recent information. The next one will probably come out on Wednesday of this week. Regarding East River Road, I was down there today. There wasn't anybody on site. I'm assuming that might be because of the holiday, but it looks like the abutments are complete. Like Brian had mentioned, I think they're looking at a November completion date on that. They have the steel supports that still have to go on after they had the abutments completed. So my understanding is that's the next step, and then they can put the concrete remaining side on to that steel superstructure. So it's progressing nicely. The residents have been very understanding and patient with that construction progress and project. So I want to thank the residents down there for their patience with that. But hopefully we'll be in touch with you on Wednesday, at least via the website, to let you know if anything has changed with the Parkway Bridge, and if not, it'll just say status quo. So,
Derek, thanks.
You're welcome.
Derek is allowed to talk to Wayne County to a certain extent.
Sometimes. Yep.
Trish, DDA. Where do we go with DDA? I'm going to reiterate with Dale's comment. I was there for most of the day Saturday for Paint the Town Red. Weather was perfect. It was just a great time. It was a lot of fun. A lot of folks out. So, Trish, what do you have an update on Paint the Town Red, and what else do you have coming up?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, perfect. Yes, Paint the Town Red, by all indications, seemed to go very well. The biggest thanks goes to Mother Nature, I think. I couldn't have ordered a more perfect day if I ordered it myself. Big thanks to the community for coming out, because we can plan an event, but if nobody comes out, it's not going to be a success. The businesses were all great. My fellow township staff helped out tremendously. And then really my team that I put together, these are all volunteers who did not get paid to help me, that met weekly, spent their whole weekend with me. Chad Novak, who's a great party planner, as most know him for his Island Fest. Jenna Jones, who owns the company Rue and Fox. She is excellent at social media, websites. She developed our logo. She did our social media, photography. I can't say enough good things about her talent. Gary Van Engelen from the VFW put together the musicians and the car show. And then I had the opportunity to meet Keith and Kelly Kuczynski, who are now heading up the Kiwanis. And they put together the scavenger hunt that was really instrumental in bringing a lot of different people downtown. Just talking to some of the business owners, they reached out to me today and just said how happy they were to see all the activity on the street and in their stores. So thank you to everyone. So what's next is already today, I got to work on planning the parade, the trick or treat on Macomb Street. That will be on the 24th, Saturday. We will start the day lining up at the high school at 10:15 with the parade at 10:30. And then people in costumes will parade down Macomb Street, including we'll have a performance by the wife witches of Groseal. I think I got the name wrong, but anybody who's seen them dance, they're a lot of fun. So they will be in the parade. And then kids can trick or treat up and down Macomb at the businesses. So it'll be a lot of fun. And that's just less than 2 weeks away already. So that's that's what's going on for October.
Okay. Trish, thanks.
And then thank you to the board for approving my DDA board member. I appreciate it.
Yes. Welcome Kelly Chesser to the DDA board. We met her the other night, and I think she's going to be a great asset. So yeah, I meant to bring that up. Kelly, welcome aboard. Thanks, Trish.
Thank you.
Let's see, other odds and ends. It's October. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. No joyful way you can say this. 1 in 8 women will be affected by it to some extent. It's what killed my mother. It took 2 tries, but it eventually took my mom. So take it very seriously. Bring yourself out. I'll remind you again in 2 weeks. If you haven't checked lately, keep checking. Again, 1 woman in 8, which is an awfully high percentage. We have mid-year review coming up. We will be trying to measure the results of the pandemic, all the constraints, how they've affected our township, where we are budget-wise. Overall, I'd like to continue the path we've been on with balanced budgets. We just don't know. There's a lot of we just don't knows. But the mid-year review will get us a firm footing as to where we are halfway through the year, which is why we do it. So that'll be coming up, and I'll have a report on that in our next October meeting. And our attorney advises what's driving everybody nuts between the executive orders and the Supreme Court basically shelving all the executive orders, and then the state public health orders and the county public health orders. And we're getting into just a balkanized state as to who can do what, where. I don't know where this is going to get sorted out. In the meantime, do what you think is safest. It's probably going to be your best bet. And that's why we're doing a Zoom tonight, because still the safest course of action. I think the legislature is finally going to get something to, we're expecting it maybe as early as tomorrow. The legislature will have a bill to Governor Whitmer reinstituting some of the executive orders for the safety perspective. We'll see what comes out, but it's just been a mess. But I think we're starting to see daylight. And that concludes my report. We'll open it up now to public comment. Any topic, 3 minutes. You know the rules. Address yourself, and 3 minutes. And Mr. Friel is in charge of determining who gets to speak. If you can use the little hand wave on your screen, it makes it a little bit easier.
All right, Mark Mills, looks like you're up first.
All right, Mr. Mills.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Ms. O'Connor, this is basically kind of directed towards you, and I'm just going to request that you let me finish before you say anything, okay, please? As you know, I was at the Election Commission meeting this morning, and I'm extremely disappointed of what happened after that. I picked up a FOIA from the police department regarding a criminal complaint that was lodged against me, and you were to complain of it. The rest of the election commission was behind it as well, Mr. Loftus and Mr. Van Oss. The initial complaint for my residency came from Mr. Pfeiffer of PIBC, and he's a paid contract on Island. And as a couple of weeks ago, last FOIA that was filed, he had no license or insurance to operate. But according to tonight's meeting, Mr. O'Farrell stated that he now has a license and insurance to operate, which is good. But nevertheless, he's the one that initiated my challenge to your office. Within that criminal complaint that was filed against me, it was claimed that I basically committed election fraud. And I was later determined to be unfounded by the police department, as their police report states no criminal violations were found in their investigation after they contacted the Michigan Attorney General's office and the Michigan Bureau of Elections. I just kind of put together a bullet point here, and I'm going to ask you a question at the end of this. Whether you answer or not, it's entirely up to you. Mr. Pfeiffer of PBIC is a paid contractor of the township that we all know. Mr. Pfeiffer was convicted or pled no contest to trespassing on my property in October of 2019. I found out that Mr. Pfeiffer visits Dale Ream at Dale Ream's office on Island at a regular basis. On April 19th, I filed an affidavit of identity and receipt of filing for the August 4th primary to run as trustee, as we all know. On July 10th, Mr. Pfeiffer appears before Brian Friel with an affidavit challenging my residency. Shortly thereafter that, a female citizen starts calling Island residents and leaving the messages on their voicemails stating that I'm not a resident and they should not vote for me. You conduct an investigation and determine that I am no longer a resident, and you sent me a letter stating so, which we all are aware of. Mr. Loftus contacted Jim Budney on July 27th via email, a week before the election, encouraging Jim to have me withdraw from the political race. Mr. Loftus advised that this could be considered perjury, what I did, by running, and could jeopardize my position or career as a police officer. On August 4th, as we all know, I lost the primary by a little over 100 votes. On September 3rd, this is what it just is so disheartening. You decided, along with everybody else, Mr. Loftus and the Election Commission and so forth, decided to file a criminal complaint against me, knowing it could jeopardize my family, my career, my livelihood, before you had all the information back from the Michigan Bureau of Elections. I filed a complaint with the Michigan Bureau of Elections and the ACLU. Both of those agencies contacted your office and let you know the errors that were made on your office's behalf. The police department closed their investigation with no crime committed on my behalf. So my question to you really is this: why was there a rush to have me charged with a crime without proper feedback from the Bureau of Elections? Why the attack on my family? Why the attack on my credibility, my integrity, my career? Why the criminal complaint before you had all the information? What was your motive behind that? Thank you.
Well, without bringing attorneys involved, I'm not going to make another comment. We know what the statutes say. We know which statutes were violated, but the Bureau of Elections doesn't care, and it's over. The clerk did her job. They didn't care. It's over. It's over. Next, Mr. Friel.
Anyone else would like to make public comment? Okay, it looks like Mr. Flavin. Kevin, are you there?
Good evening.
There you go.
I'd like to make comments about the Township Board's lawsuit against the Grosse-Ile Police Officers Association pertaining to the 2016-2020 collective bargaining agreement. As I understand it, there was a disagreement between the township and the police union about the cost sharing of retiree healthcare insurance premium costs. I have heard that during August, the Township Board decided not to appeal the lawsuit against the Grosse-Ile Police Officers Association, that the Michigan Court of Appeals decided in favor of the police union. If this is true, I commend the Township Board for making a good decision to cut its losses on litigation that seemed to be risky at best. I'm not an attorney, but my reading of the court's opinion leads me to believe it would have been difficult to overcome such a strong 3-0 decision by the judges. The lawsuit was discussed by various township officials during board meetings and in media reports. Trustee Bletcher stated that the township lost the lawsuit. If the township lost the lawsuit, it would cost the township more than $760,000 in added expenses for Township Police Department retiree health care insurance costs. Supervisor Loftus subsequently stated that a loss by the township would cost more than $6.2 million for these expenses. On the other hand, I've read comments on social media remarks by the Police Officers Association that maintaining the status quo with their contract would cost the township $40,000. Obviously, these figures are a long way, or the $40,000 is a long way from $760,000, let alone $6.2 million. I think, however, there is a principle in this dispute that goes beyond the issue of what township department retirees, police department retirees should be paid. There is an issue of honesty and integrity at stake in the resolution of this lawsuit that the township board needs to address. Many islanders have heard and read statements about the cost to the township for losing this litigation. I don't believe that I am alone in thinking that it is impossible for the cost of the township's loss of this lawsuit to be $40,760 or 6.2 million. I believe the township board has an obligation to provide islanders with a detailed explanation about the differences between these figures. Citizens need to be able to trust our township officials. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Flavin, I did give a detailed recap of whether the costs were in a report a couple of meetings ago. I will make that publicly available with the 750,000 figure, but the 6.2 million is a kind of a separate entity. When management was trying to resolve the increases in the healthcare costs out of the contract, but to reduce the healthcare costs for the active and the retired employees. And they had an agreement that anything over 20% the township would pick up. The police union came back with, yes, we like that, but we also want guaranteed lifetime health care, which was not in the contract anywhere and never has been. That's what, according to GASB, according to the audit, numbers go up to an additional $250,000 per year in pre-funding because of Public Act 220 and a total cost of the 6.2 million. Those numbers are right in the Gabriel GRS report, and I will make that available. It's available right now. So,
sir,
that's where
the court
from.
The court,
the
judges,
they're not fabrications.
The judges found in favor of the union and said that the township was not correct in their legal theory. They said that you were wrong.
I read the court's opinion. It said no such thing.
It did, sir.
This is not.
I asked all islanders to read it. You were found at fault.
Well, okay, you're misinformed. But we'll do.
I don't think so, sir.
Show you the documentation.
I don't think so.
Okay, Brian, who's next?
All right, Mr. Yeager.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Good evening, board. I'm concerned about what happened to the Mills family. I spoke out before, and I would be remiss not to speak up again. And there's several aspects of this action that worry me, and I hope dearly most of them are found to be untrue. You've mentioned your oath of office and the requirement to follow Michigan and federal laws, but you also have an obligation to uphold both of those constitutions, which includes specific rights for the members of the Mills family. Government exists to preserve people's rights, and unfortunately, the township has failed to do that in this case. That aside, the timing of his disenfranchisement, which began before and led up to the primary election, is suspect. It very well might have affected his campaign and the votes he received. Why was the decision rushed? Why were the governing bodies that oversee these decisions not questioned before you took from his family something afforded to them by our Constitution? I've called the Bureau of Elections and I've gotten through, so surely they didn't leave a township clerk high and dry for 2 months and wouldn't return their call during a major election year. The fact that the complainant of the non-resident allegation is a well-known township contractor who has also personally ran a smear campaign against Mark Mills and who is Mills' own neighbor and known to have an unfriendly relationship with his family, and tonight was awarded another contract. And now I hear that you filed criminal charges against the Mills family based on erroneous interpretation of a law in an attempt to further damage him and his family, and it was found that there were no crimes committed. I mean, this perceptually looks like political motivation, corruption, and abuse of power. And I hope sincerely that that is not the case and that the timelines, actions, and individuals involved is all mere coincidence. But that's the perception, and it's actually disheartening. I hope the next time the Board of Electors or any other governing body looks at revoking someone's constitutional rights, that they'll consult with competent authorities before they do so and not expose the township to further embarrassment and expensive litigation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yeager. I'll have some statutes for you to read. Next, Mr. Friel.
Judy Mega.
Judy, hi.
Hi, good evening. Well, I had something else, but after that, I just have to say that those perceptions don't exist in the mind of the majority of people looking at the situation who are unbiased. It looks like a mad neighbor filed a complaint and the clerk, the attorney, and the township officials followed the law and did exactly what they had to do. That's what it looks like, because that's what it was. He was on the ballot. People got to vote for him. He didn't win the election. It's unfortunate that it's a complicated situation, but I don't think anybody in their right mind would say that it was a simple situation. There's no conspiracy. There's nothing that the clerk did wrong. She did everything to the letter of the law. And I was pleased to see her statement on Sunday. And I was pleased that she had the grace and the fortitude to apologize for what happened to them, and that she went forward trying to reinstate their ability to vote, that she didn't just drop it where it was. So thank you to the clerk for that, and thank you to everyone involved in this unfortunate situation for straightening that out. That said, the McLeod Steel CAG has been meeting. We received our notes from our last meeting and over the last couple days, and there are some interesting things in there about the cutting of the steel, the response from the company that's doing it on what is actually dispersed into the air when they do that, and how they're going to try to control that. I think it would be great. I know that there's somebody at the township who sits in on those meetings. I think it'd be great if we could establish some sort of method of communication between the CAG members and the township board, or the township, for these meetings, to have somebody like give a short summary of those reports or something. So if we could think about that. We're not meeting again till January, but each member of the CAG gets a copy of the notes, and then after they're okayed by everybody, they're allowed for public consumption. And there was some really good information in the last one we had about groundwater and whether they're going to be allowed to do dredging and so on and so forth. So maybe we could talk about that and come up with a plan to do that in the near future. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mega. Brian, who's next?
Anyone else have any comments? I don't see any hands up at the moment.
With that, we can, with none offered, we could close. Nothing? Nope. Okay.
Nope, you're good.
We'll close public comment, and I have nothing to add. I will advise everybody on this election issue. There is much, much more to the story. And I think those of us who've been in the belly of that beast for the last couple of months understand it is a very involved story, disappointing from a number of perspectives. With that, we are where we are. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr.
Trustee Bundy, seconded by Supervisor Loftus. Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Okay, meeting's adjourned. Next one, 2 weeks. Everybody be safe out there. The pandemic's still among us. Be careful, be safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.